Hello and welcome to Algebra 2. Today is Tuesday, September 22nd, and our topic is factor by grouping with complex solution. Complex solutions, where complex is just another way to say imaginary. So a complex solution means that it has imaginary numbers. Quick review of imaginary numbers. The square root of -1 does not exist because there is no such number that you multiply it times itself to get -1, right? The only way to get -1 is -1 times 1, two different numbers. If you do -1 and -1, you get +1. If you do 1 and 1, you also get +1. But we can't take the same exact number and get -1. This is why it's negative. We use a cursive I to represent the square root of -1, where the I means imaginary. Most of the time, the way this functions is we can pull out the negative sign as if it were an I. So, for example, if I have square root of -4, I pull out the negative as an I, so I have I root 4. Root 4 is 2, so my answer here would be 2i. If I have a fraction, like root -3/5, we're going to pull out the negative as an I, root 3/5. And we can't further simplify that because the square root of 3 and the square root of 5 are not perfect squares, so we leave it as such. Great. Let's go to our first example. We are factoring by grouping again today, except we're going to start solving these where they have imaginary solutions. Here's example 1. Make sure you pause and write the original problem. Okay, remember, we're going to break these into two groups here. So my first group is the first two, and the second group is the second two. We take a greatest common factor out of each group. 8 and 64 share 8. We have to defer to the lower exponent, so we can take an r squared out of each of these. The first term has an r left, -8, because we already took out an r squared, so there's no more r term there. If there's nothing at all to take out, we can always take out a 1. So we're going to say 1 r -8. All right. Now, these guys are going to go together, and these guys become one group. So I've got 8r squared plus 1 times r -8 equals 0. Equals 0 because we're solving. Color code these. Great. Reminder that to solve just means we're going to take these and set them equal to 0. So here I have 8r squared plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to take over the 1. So now I've got 8r squared equals -1. Divide the 8. R squared equals -1/8. To go from r squared to r, we have to take the square root of both sides. And when we do this, it cancels the square, and we also get a plus or minus here. So we get a positive and a negative version. Let me show you the reason for this really quick. So if I have the equation x squared equals 49, okay, I want to find out what x is. I'm going to do that by taking the square root of each side. X squared becomes x, and 49 becomes 7. But it actually becomes plus or minus 7. This is because positive 7 times positive 7 equals 49, as does negative 7 times negative 7 also equals positive 49. So we have two ways to get to positive 49. That is why we have a plus or minus whenever we square root both sides. Okay, back to our problem. I've got my plus or minus. I see a negative under the square root. I'm going to pull it out as an I. So my answer here is plus or minus I root 1/8. And then I get, so that's two answers, right? If we write these out, your two answers are I root 1/8 and negative I root 1/8. That's what the plus or minus means. Okie dokie. I can also set this r minus 8 to 0, and a little more simply, we're going to get positive 8. Great, so those are our three answers. And that's it for that one. Let's do one more. All right, we're going to call this example 2. You can pause and rewind whenever you need, but definitely make sure you pause here to write the original problem. Okay, I see 4 terms. 4 terms tells me factor by grouping. I'm going to break these into 2 groups. And then we're going to start searching for common factors out of each group. Okay, what do 12 and 21 share? That would be 3. We got a p cubed and a p squared. I take the lower one. So 3 times what is 12? That's 4. It was p cubed. We took out p squared. There's a single p left. 3 times 7 is 21, and that was p squared, and we took out p squared, so nothing left. What do 28 and 49 share? That would be 7. Only one of them has a p, so we can't take out a p. 7 times 4 is 28, and 7 times 7 is 49. Color code these. Okie dokie. So I've got 3p squared plus 7 times 4p minus 7. So this is as far as we can factor it, right? We're done with factoring now. All we need to do is solve. So let's solve this guy on the left first. So I'm going to take 3p squared plus 7, set it equal to 0, minus 7 both sides. 3p squared equals negative 7. Divide by 3. P squared equals negative 7/3. I don't care what p squared is. I care what just p is. So to get from p squared to p, I'm going to square root both sides. When I do this, we get the plus or minus effect. And lastly, I need to take out the negative as an I. So these are our first 2 answers, and we're going to get one more answer over here. So we're going to set it equal to 0. 4p minus 7 equals 0, plus 7, plus 7. 4p is positive 7. Divide the 4. And our third and final answer is 7/4. That's all for today, guys. Thanks.